Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Bashem Kakodash, and Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there, wherever you may be on this planet. Anyway, it's we're in the Day of Atonement. I had my last meal, you can say, almost an hour ago. Before the sun went down, it was a smoothie. A lot of nutrients is in it, so I won't be eating until 24 hours later, which would be about 7:40 something, depending on what state you're in. But I guess I'm entitled this Day of Atonement lesson, and I kind of stole that from a lesson that's going on right now. You can catch Apostle Gabar and Bishop Sakaran. They're doing the lesson. So I was on there. I put a couple of precepts in there. So I said, let me do a video on my own. And they had mentioned something about Esau and the sword. Now you have Israelites that'll say, well, Esau is not the so-called white man. The Ishmaelites are Esau because they have a sword. And there's one particular video, I don't know if it's still up on YouTube, where they showed a bunch of Arabs are doing a ceremonial dance with swords in their hand, which was stupid as hell. The sword in Genesis 27:40 that Esau was blessed with by his father Isaac, which Isaac is Yahushua. So who put this man in power? Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Who's going to take him out of power? Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. It's Yahushua that's going to actually do it. So if he gave him the sword, he has power to take the sword away. And the Most High has a sword as well. The same sword that he gave to Esau. And the sword in Isaiah 34, I shall bathe my sword in the heavens. That's talking about the missiles, which is Esau's sword, that the Most High is going to use Esau's sword or technology that he gave him against himself. Defeat of it, Revelation chapter 13. So anyway, the sword that was given to Esau by Isaac, the father of Esau, was a weapon to kill people. And this sword changes in history. You had the sword, which is a metal instrument, and you had that sword for millennia. You had the sword. And just recently, the gun came about. I would say the first remnants of the gun, the musket. You can do the research on it. I'm not going to do that. Is we're talking about maybe the late 1500s into the 1600s. So from the time of Esau to the time we're talking way more than 2,000 years. We're talking 3,000 some odd, almost 4,000 years or more, that the first sword was an actual sword, a sharpened instrument to kill, for killing. And that technology of the sword they stayed the same for thousands of years. You go from the time of Cain, which he had a sword, he had a dagger. He killed his brother with the dagger, which is a small sword, a killing instrument. And like I said, you go up to the Maccabees, they weren't using, high-powered weapons. They were using swords, bow and arrows, and spears, which is a spear is nothing but a sword with a long stick behind it. The lanterns and all that. So that's the spirit. The Most High upped their spirit, gave them the technology. Knowledge shall increase, Daniel chapter 12. Around about the third, fourth verse. I'm not going to go to it. And that shows you that this is the Most High's movie, because it took thousands of years for Esau to change the technology up to what we call a gun, or a gun ain't nothing but a missile, a 9mm, an AK-47, an M16. These weapons are nothing but handheld silos. And the thing that does the damage is the thing that shoots out of that silo, handheld silo. Even Esau got named for these modern day missiles, and they'll call, there's one missile that's called the Javelin missile. The ancient javelin was like a spear, which was used for war. Then you have the rocket fired handheld, what's the damn, a handheld rocket fire launcher, which you have that pole and it shoots from the back. You had the catapult, which they had a device, the pulley device, or put a stone there, set it up on fire. You had, like I said, you had the musket gun. You know, if you go to the Met in Manhattan, and one day we might go down there, we used to do field trips, and they showed you in the 1500s, the mid 1500s into the 1600s, going into the 1700s, you had the musket gun, but you had a sword on the end of the gun, which Esau, you in the infantry, they'll have whatever rifle they'll have, and they'll have a sword on it in case they're in close combat and they jab with the sword. So, you know, you saw the movie Glory, right? And they were showing the part where the Irish a drill sergeant said, "Stab, not tickle." And the guy, the weak guy, he tried to stab him, and the Irish dude threw it and put it right in his face and, you know, fucked him up. You know. So you had a gun, a rifle with a dagger at the end of it. So when you was up close, you stabbed. That was the evolution of the sword. So guess what? The sword is now the gun. It's now the M16, the AK-47, the Desert Eagle, the 22, the 32, the shotgun, the scatter gun, they call it. Those are all numbered swords. The evolution is from the sword to the gun with the sword on the gun. We got to go down. We got to make a trip. One day we're gonna make a trip down. We're gonna do our field trips again. You know, we're gonna do a field trip before they lock everything down, because they're talking about locking everything down and making motherfuckers put masks on, which people gonna buck up against that shit because they know it's bullshit. So, you know, maybe Most High willing in the near future we'll do that. And I'm gonna take y'all to three main sections. I'm gonna take you to the four. I'm gonna take you to the Byzantine section. I'm gonna take you to, if we ever go, I'm gonna take you to the Egyptian section. I'm gonna take you to the Knights, the during the time of the Knights, which were Jake. I'm gonna take you to that section, and I'm gonna take you to the Middle Eastern section. Those are the only sections you need to go to. Then if we ever go to the Museum of Natural History, I believe it's on the third floor, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe it's also known as the Middle Eastern section, where you have Alexander the Greek or Alexander the Great. There's an actual bust of him with a leopard skin hat on, meaning he took a leopard, what do you call it? Cleaned out the brains and the skull and all that and made it into a hat. So, the scriptures refer to him as the goat and the leopard. And then going into the bear in Revelation 13 is the feet of it is the end of this man's system. So the Russians, the leadership of the Russians, the Edomites, they received that sword too from Isaac. So the modern day sword is a missile, and I'll prove that to you. The sword is also known, when you look up the word sword, the root word goes back to the word waster. So let me read this precept right here. Genesis 27, verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and the reason why you empower, because you had a sword. And the modern day sword is a gun. And from the gun, the musket gun, to the rifle, to the M16, to the AK-47, to the rocket launcher, to the javelin, there's a missile called a trident missile. What is a trident? Trident means 3 teeth. If you watch those movies like Gladiator, you would have a guy with a thing that looked like a pitchfork. That wasn't a pitchfork. It was a trident, meaning 3 teeth or 3 little swords on a stick. And that's what, the spiritual demon Satan, they depict him as having a trident in his hand, showing you that whole concept of this devil in hell goes back to the Greco-Roman Empire. So it says, and by thy sword. So the reason why this man is empowered today is because of his weaponry. And these people are getting their weapons from this man, and they're saying, what? Hast thou become as weak as we? It says, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And because there was a time that they served us during the time of David and during the time of some of the kings, and they broke from it. It says, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, they're in their dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke, our yoke. We had a yoke on him from off thy neck. So now let me click on the word. I'll click on the precept. So I'm going to go to the word sword. The word sword is harab, which means sword, knife, tools for cutting stone. What's the most effective tool to cut stone? Lasers. So guess what? Esau has the technology of the laser. And that's a sword too. Hey, they showed you in the Star Wars series, the lightsaber was a laser of light, a laser. So the modern day sword that Esau got has been updated to the laser and the missiles. So now this is what I want to do. Click on the root, the etymology. Same word, karab. Spelled a little different. But check this out. It says waste. Dry up. What's going to make this place dry up? The missiles. It's going to become the biggest desert on the planet. Desolate. That's where you get the word desert. If you go to a desolate place, it's called a desert. slay, decayeth, destroyed, destroyer, the waster, to destroy, surely, utterly, to utterly destroy. So, what is the ultimate sword that was given to Esau? The ICBMs. To be waste, lay waste, make desolate a desert, be desolate. Babylon is going to be desolate, be in ruins, to be waste, be desolate, to be made desolate, to lay waste, make desolate, to be laid waste. And I have created the waste to destroy. To be dry, be dried up. All the bodies of waters in America, the Mississippi, the lakes, the various rivers and bodies of water inside of America, there's not going to be any trace of water. Everything going to be completely dried up. To be dried up. What's going to do that? The modern day sword, the ICBM. To be dried, to dry up, to be dried up, to attack, smite down, slay, fight. And now Einstein, he said, made a statement. He said, I don't know what World War III is going to be, what weapons they're going to use. He knew it was the missiles. He said, but I do know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, meaning the missiles going to knock them back to the dark ages. But that's not going to happen because we're going to take over the kingdom. We're going to rebuild the kingdom, except for Babylon the Great. There's going to be a monument forever. So now this is what I did. Matter of fact, dried up, Genesis 8 and 13. So that's what, so a regular sword, a knife, cannot dry up anything. What can dry up something? The missiles, the ICBMs. So I went to Isaiah 54, verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith. The modern day smith is a scientist. Because the German scientists, they came up with the concept of the missile, the rocket. That's why the United States and Russia was fighting to get the German scientists, because the American Edomites couldn't figure it out, and the Russian Edomites couldn't figure it out. So they were fighting to get as many German scientists as they could for the technology of two things: for going up in space, the rocket, and for the missiles. So the modern day smith are the scientists. He said, behold, I have created the smith, the scientist that bloweth the coal in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. So what is the waster? The missiles. What does the waster do? It destroys. It utterly destroys. So the Most High has that same weapon in Isaiah chapter 34. So if you understand the prophetic part of the scriptures, you know when you come across, if you see the word arrow, you know whether it's an actual arrow that David might have used or a missile. You know when it's talking about a missile. So your eyes have to be open to see this truth. The Most High will do nothing but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants and prophets. So the only ones that are privy to this mystery, that received the cheat code, so to speak, are the prophets. We have many brothers that came into this thing and fell off. And what did they leave with them? All the prophecies. They denied all of the prophecies. So they're saying, oh, there ain't no missiles in the Bible. There ain't no UFOs in the Bible. We're not the Israelites. The so-called white man, they're not Edomites. and so forth and so on, because they were called, but they were not chosen. They were not of the elect. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.